Should people get paid $15 an hour as a minimum wage? First and foremost, Happy New Year. Hope you guys had a good celebration. Hope you guys had a safe celebration. I'm pretty sure. Sure hope that none of you did anything stupid like drinking and driving on New Year's Eve or New Year's Day. We don't know. Well, the thing is, but again, overall, though, I just wish you guys a Happy New Year. I know it's January 2nd, but I hope you guys enjoying the New Year. I know I am, but so far we're going to be talking about $15 an hour. Mostly because in my state, as of yesterday, the minimum wage went up again. I think it's now $13 an hour because gradually it's going to be going $1 every single year until it reaches 15. So that's why I decided to talk about this. But first and foremost, in the comment section, feel free to answer this before the video even starts, even after if you wish. But what's your stance on $15 an hour? Should it happen? Should it not happen? Should it be nationwide? Should it be based on state and based on the standard of living? For me, I think it's more of like a gray area. But even then, I'm more against it than anything. Here's the thing. I can understand the perspective from other people. For example, I live in California. If you don't happen to know, California is a very expensive state to live in, and to some degree, obviously $15 an hour makes a little bit more sense. But even then, $15 an hour is not enough. But the problem here is that if you increase the minimum wage, at least in my opinion, is that if you increase the minimum wage, you increase the incentivization for businesses, especially major businesses, to increase their automation. Now, I'm not saying it's not going to happen because automation is inevitable. They're like Thanos, they're inevitable. But the higher it costs for employees, to hire employees, the more the businesses are going to be like, hey, instead of hiring an employee, why don't I just buy a machine that'll do everything the employee does, and I only have to pay for maintenance when it breaks down. You know what I mean? Well, that's how I see it. I think it should just be based on the state, because let's face it, $15 an hour in California, especially Southern California, it's not enough. Or in Texas, it's a lot. I mean, it really is. But it all depends on the cost of living, the standard of living, right? But even then, inflation, like I always say, inflation prices will go up. Inflation goes up regardless. But again, if you increase the labor, right? If you increase the price for an employee, then obviously it's going to increase the prices even more. I'm not saying that I'm not saying that inflation is not going to stop, because again, it does happen. And I know you're saying, well, Carlos, prices are still going up even when the wage is so low. Well, you also have to consider other factors. You have to also consider food costs, regulations, fees, taxes. You have to consider that because a business needs to stay afloat. And if you increase the minimum wage, therefore giving another factor to the cost of running a business, then guess what's going to happen? Prices will go up again. So I don't know. But again, from a person who actually earns $15 an hour, I will tell you this: you want $15 an hour, you gotta earn it. Now, from the title, the article's from CNBC. But before we even read the article, I want to read you an excerpt from the book called Triggered, and it's from Donald Trump Jr. Now, personally, I'm almost done with the book. I bought it like in the last 2 weeks of December. It's really good, honestly. I didn't expect Donald Trump Jr. to be teaching me a lot of things. But I'm going to be reading you an excerpt from it. Then we're going to be reading a little bit of this article. But the whole point that I hope that you guys can get from this is the three things that I'm going to read you from this excerpt from what Donald Trump Jr. says, and the idea that this, okay? If you want $15 an hour, I think that the way to get it is not from the government, but moving up, taking in more responsibilities. Right now, I make $15 an hour, but do you think I got it because the government gave me the wage? No, because I said, you know what? I want more pay. I'm not satisfied with my pay. How do I get more pay? By moving up. And how do I move up? By earning that position, right? I'm a manager. But that's how I see it. If you want more pay, get more responsibilities, and you'll get more pay. But a lot of people want to have their cake and eat it too. But so I don't want to make this a 20-minute video. But let's start reading the excerpt from Donald Trump Jr. from his book Triggered, and then after that, we're gonna read the article, a little bit of the article. So on page 51, on the last paragraph, it reads, "Here's what happened. Hanging around the job site one day, I started doing a little math, which was never my best subject as a youngster, but when it came to money, I was able to figure it out. I thought, I used to make hundreds of dollars in tips, smelling nothing but sunscreen and salt water, and now I'm in mud and sawdust up to my knees, wiping dirt out of my eyes, and working around sweaty dudes for less money. I decided I would tell my father that weekend after dinner that I had realized about what I had realized about my paychecks. I assumed that he would immediately raise my pay and commend me for realizing how unfair the system was to working guys like me. Easy. What actually happened was much different, but to this day, I'm grateful that it did. It was a light bulb over my head moment for me. Here's how it all went down. Written as a one act play, just so you get the full experience that I did. Notice that Don Jr. does not make a major speaking role. Interior dinner table. Donald J. Trump seated at the head. Entered John Jr. with very long hair. Really, very long hair. I can't believe I didn't know he had long hair. But anyways, with very long hair, probably wearing cargo shorts and a camouflage T-shirt. Don Jr. Dad, I've realized that even though I'm doing more work on the job site, you're paying me way less money for it. Why didn't I get a raise? Dad, well, you didn't ask for money, so I didn't give you more money. That's how the world works. Why would I give you more money than you're willing to work for? That would make me an idiot. Don Jr. And then Donald Trump replies, why would I do that? You think people are going to give you money just because you're a nice guy? They're not. Donnie, anything you want, you have to go out and get it. Nothing is going to be handed to you. Nothing. You have to earn it before you ask for it. Always remember, you don't get anything you ask for. Over the next few minutes, I think I tried negotiating for a retractive raise. Sorry, yeah. I may have even pulled some pie charts out of my shorts. My father found it amusing, but he didn't budge. That day I learned a few lessons that have stuck with me. Number one, you shouldn't expect to get anything in life that you didn't work for. Number two, if you didn't ask for it, don't expect it. And number three, when someone goes around offering things for free, don't believe them. In most cases, that person is either a liar or an idiot. And that concludes the little excerpt that I was going to read for you. Now, hopefully you guys understood that. Now, I was actually surprised that I actually operate the same way as Donald Trump thinks, in the sense that I'm not this right now. I bought this book in like 2 weeks, last 2 weeks of December. But when I read this segment, I didn't know I had more in common than Donald Trump than I realized, because that's how I see it. I do believe that if you want something, you gotta earn it, and if you feel like you've earned it, then you gotta ask for it. You don't wait for people to give it to you. When I became manager for the second time, I was like, you know what? I'm done waiting. They told me I was gonna be able to haven't talked to me about it. So you know what? I've earned it. I come in on time. I always go above and beyond. I'm going to be a manager. And you know what I did? I asked them every single day, hey, when am I going to be certified? When am I going to be certified? And you know what happened? The third day that I constantly asked them, when am I going to be certified? They said, okay, I'm going to start focusing on you. Next week, I'm a manager already. So I didn't know I had this much in common with Donald Trump when it comes to his way of thinking. Now, when it comes to the people who are asking for minimum wage, here's the thing. That's one of the things. Number one, one of the rules was if you didn't ask for it, don't expect it. And sure, some people are asking for a minimum wage, but they're missing the first rule. Did they earn it? Did they earn that $15 minimum wage? If it's yes, then fine. I would go with okay, fine, give them $15 an hour. If not, then you don't deserve it. Here's a good example. There was an employee where I work at where she has a habit of not doing anything. She's not on her break, and then she goes sit in the lobby, sits down, and goes on her phone and hopes that no one catches her. Well, I caught her. My general manager caught her too the next day, and I talked to her about it. It was last week on Wednesday. Yeah, last week on Wednesday, I talked to her about it, and I told her, listen, I don't know if you're aware, but you are aware that the minimum wage is going to be going up next month, right? Which was in January, which is this month. He told me, yeah, and I told her, you are aware that it's going to go up until it goes $15 an hour, right? Yeah. And I'm going to tell you this right now. You are aware that they're going to be cutting your hours as your hours are increased, right? And I wasn't joking. Yeah, the business actually wants to cut hours for the crew because of the minimum wage increases. And I told her, you have bills to pay, right? I'm like, yeah. Okay. I'm pretty sure you wouldn't want to be fired from your job because you didn't want to give your best efforts, right? It's like, yeah. And I told her, if you want to keep your hours and if you want to keep your paycheck, you might want to consider giving a better effort, because at the end of the day, the business is going to look at this and say, who is worth being paid $15 an hour? The next day, she didn't learn a lesson, because the general manager talked to her again, and the general manager, she actually was a little bit tough on her. And the next day after that, that employee was like, it was like night and day. She was giving it a raw, stuff like that. And then I told her, can I talk to you for a minute? Like, yeah, and then she thought I was getting mad. And I told her, listen, what I saw today, that's what you should have been doing all this time. Now, the way I see it is this. If you really want to be consistent, do the same thing you were doing today every single day, and I guarantee you're not going to get your hours cut. The business is going to look at you and say, you know what? We want someone like this to work for us. We're gonna let them keep their hours. And then ever since then, she's been on her. She's been like the Flash, a 50-year-old person like the Flash. They were really really fast. But that's how I see it, and that's how a lot of businesses see it. If you want $15 an hour, are you worth it? Because a lot of people ask. Yeah, sure, these people are asking, Carlos, and yeah. But the question you want to ask yourself is, are they worth those $15 an hour? Have they earned it? Who is asking for that $15 an hour? Is it Joe Schmo who comes in every day at work, never calls out sick, always gives his all, and is always happy to go to work? Or is it Nancy Schmo who's always calling out sick, always shows up late, doesn't want to work there? Who are you going to give that $15 an hour? You're probably going to give it to Joe Schmo, not to Nancy Schmo. Okay? But let's read a little bit of the article and see what's going on with the minimum wage. Seattle passed a $15 minimum wage law in 2014. Here's how it turned out so far. When Seattle began raising its minimum wage 5 years ago, local burger joint Dick's Drive-In experienced an unintended effect. Its employees opted to work few hours as their wages rose, a tall order in a tight labor market. We thought with higher wages it would be easier to get people to make more hours, but it has been the opposite. To Jasmine Donovan, president of Dick's, she added that the company had to raise prices for the first time in its history because of the cost of labor alone, whereas in the past, food costs drove such hikes. And again, I mentioned this earlier too. Prices go up because of other factors. Taxes, food costs, equipment, right? It depends. But at the same time, raising labor, you're also a resource. Believe it or not. Labor is a resource when it comes to a business. If your resources become more expensive, including labor, you have to increase prices. Dick's, in this case, they had to raise prices for the first time just because of labor. Forget food costs. Forget uniforms. If I don't know even for a uniform, but forget all the resources. Just labor alone drove food cost increases. Sorry, not food cost increases. Drove price increases because of increased labor. Because of the increased price of labor. Seattle's law, which gradually increased minimum wage to $15 an hour by 2021 from just over $9 an hour in 2014, is now the forefront of national debate over the impacts of progressive wage increases. It comes at a time when top Democratic presidential candidates like Bernie Sanders and Joe Biden are calling for a $15 an hour federal minimum wage as they try to appeal to the working class voters. The federal minimum wage is currently $7.25 an hour and has not increased in over a decade. Seattle was catalytic to the entire national movement, because what the Seattle City Council did by passing the law was show the entire nation that $15 an hour was not a ridiculous demand that people were laughing at back in 2012, but an actual key price of policy that allowed for working people all across the city to have more money in their pockets that they spent in their local neighborhoods, and then grew the economy and local business as a result, said Mary Kay Henry, president of the Service Employees International Union, which launched the Fight for $15 in a union campaign. Because businesses like Dick's have seen their costs go up. Dick pays above minimum wage. I've seen some locations starting workers at $17 and $18 an hour, and most workers are students in their 20s. Benefits like 401k plans and health insurance are also available to workers regardless of the number of hours worked, but the higher minimum wages citywide pressure employers to increase pay even if they are already above that threshold in order to compete for talent. Meanwhile, the Seattle law has been life-changing for workers like Martin Johnson, who lobbied for higher pay with the advocacy group Working Washington. He works 3 minimum wage jobs as a temporary cook on game days at city stadiums, as a janitor at Costco on the overnight shift, and as a handyman in his own small business. The raise brought in more dignity for workers and boosted morale, he said. Instead of being paid $9 an hour, you're getting $15 an hour to do the same work. You feel better about yourself. You feel appreciated, Johnson said at 54. Overall, implications for businesses and workers alike have been nuanced. While there are benefits for workers who saw higher pay, others may have seen fewer hours. Some businesses flourished, while others struggled in the face of greater regulation and intense competition in the city's hot economy. Studies of the effects of Seattle of the wage hike have different findings. A 2017 University of Washington study found that while wages went up, hours worked declined, resulting in less pay for low-wage workers. But in a follow-up published last year, the authors noted that this wasn't the case for everyone, and experienced workers and low-wage jobs saw their earnings rise. Another firm researchers at the University of California, Berkeley, released in 2018 found that the wage hikes increased pay and have not led to job losses. Berkeley and Washington studies measured different groups of workers with varying results. The conflicting studies highlight a broader debate about what a $15 federal minimum wage might do for businesses and workers nationwide. Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell even touched on the issue during his testimony before the House of Representatives this summer, saying there is no consensus amongst economists. Economists are all over the place on this. One of the challenges of measuring Seattle's experience with the minimum wage hike is that the city's economy is in a period of robust growth. Since the wage increase began in 2015, Seattle-Tacoma's job growth has slightly outpaced the state of Washington as a whole at 12.9%. The city's population has increased some, 13% over 2015, according to the Washington State Office of Financial Management. Our average hourly earnings were $39.38 in October, an increase of 14.5% from the same month in 2015. This prompts the question, are high wages necessary due to the hot economy, or has the economy continued to grow due to higher pay? And I'm just going to stop it right here, because I don't want to make this a very long video. But I want to go back to the segment and the idea of this individual, of Martin Johnson. I'm going to read the quote again. Instead of being paid $9 an hour, you're getting $15 an hour to do the same work. You feel better about yourself. You feel appreciated, Johnson, 54 said. Here's the thing. If you want your value if you want your job to have some sort of value, I will tell you this from my conservative viewpoint, move up. I'll tell you this right now. Working as a McDonald's crew, making burgers, cleaning up the floor, so I didn't like that, right? In the sense that I didn't feel like, I didn't mind. I still did it. But I thought to myself, this is not a job with dignity, right? This is not a job with dignity. But you know what I did? Instead of complaining that I should get $15 an hour for doing the same work, I told them, I want to be a manager. I want to have a job that has some dignity, and therefore I became a manager. Now I'm more proud to where I work. Because think about it. Here's the thing. When I started at McDonald's, I didn't want to tell anyone where I worked, right? And here's the thing. People say like, all jobs are dignified. In reality, they're not. I'll tell you why. People ask me, where do you work, Carlos? I tell them, well, I work at a McDonald's. And they laugh at me. But when I tell them, well, I'm a manager at a McDonald's. And they're like, oh, you're a manager. Oh, that's good for you, right? But if I say I'm a crew, they're going to say, oh, you're working at a McDonald's? Oh, man, I can't believe you're working at such a place like that. But no, it depends, right, on the title. People say, well, all jobs have dignity. No, they don't. But you want to know how you can get dignity in that job? Move up. It's not the pay that makes it dignified. If you can get paid $15 an hour to clean up poop off the streets, that's not a dignified job. The pay doesn't make it a dignified job. It's what you do in that job that makes it a dignified job. Making burgers is not a job with dignity. Running a store, operating a store, that's a job with dignity. It's not the pay. Because he says, well, the $15 an hour, it makes the job a little bit more dignified. No, it doesn't. Again, imagine if they ask you, what do you do for a living? And you say, why clean up poop off the streets? They're going to laugh in your face. And even if you tell them, I get paid $15 an hour, they're going to be like, ha ha, I used to clean up poop. But then you say, well, I run a store. I'm in charge of running a store for my shifts. They'll be like, oh, really? You actually operate a store? That's really cool. But that's how I see it. He thinks that increasing the wage makes a job more dignified. I don't see it that way. If anything, I think the thing that makes a job more dignified is the position where you're at. If you're in the lowest, if you're like at the lowest, if you're at the bottom of the barrel when it comes to the job, you're not gonna find dignity in that job. But if you move up, you will find dignity. But again, let me know what you guys think about this. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you're new, subscribe. That really does help out a lot, and it helps expand the channel. So now hit the notifications, and I also recommend you do bookmark the page because sometimes you will be notified properly by YouTube. I know they do a really bad job when it comes to notifying people. But anyways, at the same time too, what do you guys think about this? Do you guys agree with my point of view? Do you guys think that, and then overall too, what's your stance on the minimum wage? And also too, did you also like me reading an excerpt from one of my books that I own? Have you guys read that book? Have you guys read Triggered by Donald Trump Jr.? And again, let me know if you guys do like that, because I actually want to do this in more videos now. Read excerpts from specific books, so I can, before I even read the article, that way you can get some perspective on what's going on. But again, let me know what you guys think about this video overall, and I'll see you guys next time. Hope you guys have a good new year. If you guys are barely seeing this video today, but again, let's make it a good 2020.